What's happening, guys? So we are in Muscle Heart and we are running through a posterior session today. One of my best attributes of my physique is my back, and a lot of people ask questions, you know, what I do in training to build it. So I'm going to run you through a full session of what I do, how I do it, and my thoughts behind certain exercises, and just dive into the depths of everything. So hopefully you guys can take some value away from this. Currently 10 weeks out as well, so yeah, we're going to get stuck straight. So guys, actually starting out the posterior session with leg raises, which is predominantly an ab exercise, but it is also going to include your hip flexors. So it's actually quite a good one just to get everything moving. I do a stiff leg deadlift on posterior day, so by starting with a bit of core work and leg movement, it kind of gets things moving. Also putting abs at the beginning of your training means you're actually going to prioritize it. You know, most people throw abs on at the end of the session and they don't end up getting enough out of it. So they come to stage and sometimes the abs aren't developed and they look washed out. So we start with abs so we can actually put enough concentration on them. We're aiming to progress, the amount of repetitions we're doing, or weight if it's like a machine. And the other reason why we're putting it at the beginning of the workout is they use it as like a mental warm-up. So instead of going straight into a real hard exercise, I'm doing body weight leg raises, which begins the session for me. So I can use it as a mental warm-up to go, right, I'm about to get into my session, let's get in the headspace to really take the session where I need to keep improving. So 3 sets of leg raises, we're going to get stuck straight in. Let's go. So guys, notice when I'm doing this, my hips are forward. A lot of people let their hips sit back too much and just end up using just their hip flexors. So I'm going to show you a quick example. If your hips are all the way back here and you're coming up, you're using a lot of hip flexor there. When I shift my hips forward and then come up, that's when I'm going to get more ab work, and it is predominantly, lower ab work. So just keep that in mind. The other thing to think about is if you find that too hard, you can take it as a regression and just aim to lift your knees rather than your feet. So notice I was lifting my feet initially, and as it got harder, I just lifted my knees. So I'm just getting the most out of that exercise as possible. So do 3 more sets of that and then we'll move on. On to the next exercise. It's actually going to be a seated calf raise or calf press, whatever you want to call it. It is a posterior session, which basically means every single muscle group from the rear. So we're going to start off with some calves, 3 good sets to get in, really concentrating on getting a good stretch, good squeeze, no bouncing reps. So notice guys, all of them reps, nice and controlled, nice and slow. Get a big stretch, big squeeze, not just bouncing it around. And that's how you're really going to get the most out of your calf training. So 2 more sets on that and we move on. Guys, next exercise up is the seated hamstring. We've got 3 sets on this. An isolation exercise, so you don't want to throw your body weight about. You want it to be very, very controlled. So just getting a nice stretch, nice squeeze. Going to spend, a second in the lengthen range and half a second in the shorten range. So what I mean by that is, half a second up here and try and do half a second in the squeeze. That's how we're really going to get the most out of the exercise. And just controlling it for, around 2 seconds on the eccentric, which is on the, upper portion of the rep. So yeah, 3 sets in this. So looking to bring the best legs we can to stage. So let's do it. Not a bad set there, guys. Matching last week. So yeah, I'll take that. Not bad, not bad. 2 more sets, let's get it. Stiff leg deadlifts. Want to move the load to my hamstrings, so I'm using a block to help keep my hips higher. I did many years of conventional deadlifts, so I want to drop my hips, but that's not what I'm doing this exercise for. So by increasing, the height from the floor, it's going to help me keep my hips higher and use my hamstrings more. Usually I'd have 2 sets in this program, but we're going down to 1. Now I'm 10 weeks out, just because maintaining my lifts is getting harder and harder, and in order to hold onto the tissue I have, I want to be able to maintain my lift. So if I keep doing more volume and my numbers keep going down, that is not the most optimal way of doing it. You're better to do less sets and maintain or even increase, the weight you're lifting. So I've got 1 set on this only, so I'm going to give it absolutely everything, whilst making sure I'm doing it safe. It is a very taxing exercise, and you are putting yourself in a vulnerable position, so we don't want to be letting the form drop off. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a go, and let's smash it. Let's go. So, not really the best set on that, to be honest. My training program's a little bit all over the place because of the Arnold's. So, I'm actually doing this exercise again only a few days later after doing it. I felt out of the groove. I felt like I could have got a few more reps, but I felt my form start to drop off. And at this point on prep, on a big exercise like that, it's not even worth the risk. So, just called that a day there. I think I matched last week anyway, so pretty good. Last thing I just wanted to point out is any exercise like this, you're better off doing, with no shoes on and flat-footed, because a lot of time people are using like trainers and stuff, and if they're super soft, all you're going to do is you're going to be pressing into the ground. That's going to create instabilities. So if you're kind of squatting or deadlifting, a lot of the time you're going to be much better off, going barefooted, unless you need to, elevate your heel for different reasons. But yeah, just something to take note. So now we're going to go upstairs, get started on the more direct back work. So let's go. So moving on to the next exercise, guys, is a prime seated row. We're doing this upper back focus. So what that means is we're actually going to drop the seat down a little bit. So we're actually pulling the arms and elbows back a bit higher and wider. So instead of kind of tucking them and pull them down like this, we're kind of coming up like that. So to do that, we need to put obviously the seat lower. We're still aiming to get a big stretch, and we basically want to spend a little bit of time in the stretch position, because that's actually where we're strong. So on this machine, we're loading the stretch heavier, and where you're contracting, it's harder, lighter. So yeah, that is what we're concentrating on this exercise. Again, nice big stretch, nice big squeeze, and we're going to be trying to progressively overload. So just have a watch how I execute this, and the reason I'm doing it this particular way is for upper back. So like I said, elbows up higher and wider. Yeah, really, really nice exercise. Yes guys, moving on to the next exercise, we're moving to an upper back pull down. So typically when people will do a lat pull down with the wide bar, they're aiming to use their lats. That's not what we're trying to do in this exercise. What we're trying to do is use more upper back. So what I'm thinking about doing is really driving the elbows wide and almost thinking about ripping the bar apart. So when you try and train lats, a lot of times you want to tuck your elbows and drive them almost into the pocket. Right now what I'm trying to think about is actually flaring the elbows and dragging them back. So a little bit different to how you might see other people do it, but there is reasoning behind that. So yeah, take a little. On to the next exercise, guys. So it is a dual curl. It's kind of behind the back curl. So what you want to think about doing is actually leaving your elbows slightly behind your body. Okay, so you want to set it up on some kind of like dual pulling machine, and you want to step away from the machine, let your elbows sit back and curl right the way forward. I actually like to set up a little bench just so I can leave my body weight on it, so I'm not using any kind of other resistance. I can literally just sit there and move my arms. So really nice bicep exercises. You'll get a real good squeeze out of this, and it challenges your bicep actually in the length range. And usually most exercises will challenge it in the shortened range. So most of the time it's hardest where you're squeezing, whereas this is actually hardest when you're lengthened. So it's good to train, you know, for people that are looking for the extra little bit, you know, that this is what that is. So yeah, have a little look on my next set, and yeah. Not meant to do that, but as you guys can notice, my earphone fell out, but no. Split second, hold there, and then split second on the squeeze, and then a nice slow eccentric. Absolutely rinsing the bicep there. Pumped already from that. Really, really good exercise. So definitely one to think about including into your plan. So guys, finishing off the session with 3 sets of hammer curls, just another exercise to hit your bicep in a different way, as you're going to be hitting the outer head and a little bit more forearm as well. So 3 sets in this. I'm going to finish it off, then I'm going to see if I can fit in a cheeky pose. It looks like the posing room's taken. I've got a dentist appointment, so I'm going to have to rush off, but 3 sets of this, let's get it. So note guys on this, I'm really trying to keep my elbows forward. I'm not letting my elbows drag back and then kind of dragging it up. So elbows forward, full range of motion, nice controlled. Again, crazy pump from that. The veins are coming in. Yes guys, so that is posterior wrapped up. Hopefully you guys have found some value in the session and picked up a few little bits. If anyone does have any questions, you know, please feel free to just message me, you know, on Instagram or whatever, you know, is easiest for you guys. I'm more than happy to help. But yeah, good session overall. Feeling pretty pumped. 10 weeks out, you know, body fat's definitely coming down. So let's have a little look, see how we're looking.